We're back out here at the Big Lake once again, and today we're talking about what to do when those fish are so pressured they don't want to go after anything except real live bait. You've got some options. We're going to talk all about it. Got him that time. Yeah, come here, buddy. And here is this video's featured comment. Congratulations! If you would like to have a chance to have your comment featured in an upcoming video, all you've got to do is leave a comment. And now, on with the video. Welcome back to lowbrow fishing. And for much of the country, our fisheries have reached a tipping point. Those bass don't want to have anything to do with artificial lures for the most part. They've totally checked out on whatever artificial presentation you're throwing. All they want is the real deal. They want real shad, real shiners, real bluegill, real alewife, real goby. Whatever it is the prey species is in your particular fishery, that's what those bass are after. Because by now, they've seen everything, haven't they? Lipless cranks, silent cranks, square bills, you name it, they've seen it. But there is a silver lining. There is ways we can actually capitalize on that fixation. It's what I was doing out here today. See, we just had the bluegill spawn very recently. So our lake is filled with small bluegill fry. You can see that right there, right behind me. That was just an example of those bait balls. Those little fry bait balls, they swim around and there's thousands of them. And those bass, that's what they're feeding on. That's why they're not focused on your lures. So how do you take care of those little things? How to take advantage of those and make it where you can turn a hard day into a really productive day? Well, think about what those bass are doing. They're chasing those little clouds of teeny tiny little fish. But the way that those clouds move, the way that those clouds act, the way that they're reacting to the water, reacting to the current, that's going to be our cue how to fish those particular bait clouds, how to trigger those bass. You know, something like a spinnerbait, right? Slow roll a spinnerbait right through there. And I'm actually kind of staying just under the surface with this. I'm not going terribly deep because those bait balls are just under the surface. And the way they move, they ripple on the surface and they cause a little disturbance. This can take advantage of that. Obviously, we've got painted blade. You know, this is a white color. I've got a Rage swimmer on the back end of it. And this is what I use for getting those bass to say, hey, this is also a bait ball too. This is also a pile of fresh bluegill, of the bluegill fry. And this is easy pickings. So come after me. Able to get some really nice strikes doing that. But if those bass have decided that they're going to be extra stingy, you might even want to go smaller than that. Something that is even smaller than a spinnerbait and something like a good old underspin, right? This is just your regular old horsehead underspin. And I like these types of underspins because they have that blade extend down beneath the hook, beneath the bait. So it doesn't get in the way. It actually spins like that. You get some underspins and it's right there, right up under the jig head, and the bait and the blade, they get in the way of each other all the time. So that's not for me. Those are not the ones that I like. I like the ones that where there's a little bit of distance between the head and the blade. That way, the blade can spin and that bait can work. But this is just a regular old horsehead underspin. If those fish are a little bit extra finicky, if they're not responding so much to the spinner bait so well, try something like this. Pare it down just a little bit. Again, this says I'm a small, tasty little morsel. I'm easy to catch, easy to eat. I'm exactly what you want. And again, look for those bait balls. You see them rippling on the surface. You see them coming through the water, and you see the bass adjusting their tactics. And every once in a while, you'll see bass blowing up on it. And our instinct, our urge is to throw topwater, right? Well, you've got to have the right topwater. And for me, it was this guy. Obviously, this is my favorite frog. This guy's no stranger to this channel. This chartreuse scum frog, right? This little, I think I paid $5 for this thing. It's super soft, and it did great work for me again today. Ah, my goodness, I gotta get back in there and make that cast. And of course I missed wildly. Got him that time. Yeah, come here, buddy. Nope. All right. That is a solid 2-pound bass. He kept tapping at it and tapping at it and tapping at it. Oops, there we go. Totally destroyed. Come here. Totally obliterated my poor frog. It's going to take me a minute to get that straightened back out, but look at that dude. That's an amazing fish right there. Beautiful. Gorgeous bass. Appreciate it, appreciate it, appreciate it. Whoop, and there he went. All the way down. All right, let's get another one. Okay, so that frog skipping on the surface like that very much mimics how those little bait balls react. Gets a little pat on the surface, the way those bait balls kind of ripple across the surface, it can get a bass's attention. And bear in mind that in that vicinity, if a bass can find something that's reacting pretty much the same as those little bait clouds there, you know, the bass is going to go for the bigger bait if it thinks it can get it very easily. If the bass thinks it can get that bigger bait, that bigger bite easy, it's going to go after that, which is why they attacked my frog today and was able to get a few nice bass doing that. So don't be afraid to throw something like a topwater frog now. Something like a popper, something like a prop bait, maybe a little bit much. I haven't had so much success doing that, but something that just kind of pats on the surface, that has been a great success. You know, maybe even something like a floating worm, a finesse worm, a floating worm, could also be a great presentation in something like a silver, a clear, or a white color to imitate how those baby fry are moving across the surface of the water, just underneath it. And right up underneath them is the bass. That's kind of how you have to approach it. So if those bass are being even more finicky, if they're more honed in, and the spinnerbait might be too much, even the underspin might be too much. Something else I've been turning to, it's a good old lowbrow rig, right? A swim jig with the skirt taken off of it and a 3.25-inch rage tail, and this comes right through the grass. And those little bait balls are everywhere. They are everywhere on this lake, and I guarantee you pretty soon they're going to be on your lake too. So whenever those bait balls do show up, whenever you see them forming on your lake after the sunfish spawn, the bluegill, the red, the shell cracker, the long ear, all of those, whenever they spawn, those bass will be keying off on those little fry, and it can be infuriating because they don't want anything else. But you can take advantage of that. You can actually put that to your advantage and get those bass to bite. If you can imitate how those little balls of bait, how they're working underneath the surface, how they're acting on the surface, the way that they ripple, the way that they kind of pat around. My bait would hit right in the middle of those clouds, and those little minnows would just kind of scatter. It was kind of neat to see that. And I actually got a bite as soon as the frog hit the water and those minnows scattered. I got a fish that came up and got that bait immediately. It was great. But keep that in mind, okay? Whenever you're fishing for those bait balls, think about it from the bass's perspective, like we've said before, and as we've said 100 times before. Keep it from the bass's perspective. Think about what they're looking for and how you can line up with what they're looking for and your presentations. You match those things up, you marry those two things together, and it's going to greatly increase the amount of fish that you're catching. Now, lastly, I've got one little thing. You guys remember this monstrosity, right? This is the 6th Sense Vega frog. And while it looks great, I've not caught a fish on it. I did a review on this thing about how frustrating this thing was. It's got some great points. It doesn't fill up with water, it casts like a missile, and the fish absolutely love this thing. I have gotten huge strikes on it. But the problem is, the number one problem is, it doesn't hook up. There are no hookups. But today I tried it, I tied it on again. I've tied it on several times after I made that video trying to give this thing a fair shake. And you can see just how much I've got those hooks bent up now that they are clearly well above the bottom. I've trimmed those tassels way down. I boiled it, made it super soft. I'm trying everything to get this frog to catch some fish. Yeah, well, this is what happened today. Oh, well, there's a blow up that I missed. Very infuriating. Not the biggest blow up, but from what I've figured out, usually the smaller blow ups are the smaller blow up or bigger fish. Not always, but a lot of times. He went for it again. That time he came right out of the stinking water. We're gonna try this one last time, see if we can get this dude to get in here with this bat or with this frog. That time that dude jumped out of the water. Lower the camera a little bit. Got him that time. Nope. I didn't get him. 3 times, and I missed him all 3 times. That fish went for it 3 times. 3 times that fish went for it. You even saw that fish jump up out of the water to try to get this stupid frog. And I still missed that thing. I tie these on, or any other type of frog, whether it's a scum frog, whether it's a booyah, it does not matter. Whether it's a fish slab popping frog, I'm hooking into them. This thing right here, I don't know what else to do. I think I'm just done with it. I don't know what else to do with it. So if you guys can find a way to get a decent, reliable hookup on those things, you let me know. So there you have it. When the going gets really tough and those bass are focused in on live bait, use that fixation against them. It's a great way to trigger some incredible strikes and keep catching those bass all summer long. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.